Guys, in this session, we'll first fix some UI issues that we observe. For example, you could see that the image over here, the aspect ratio is slightly off. That's because this thing, we should really set it to fill space. And now it should appear more or less the same. And also on the top, I think we got a little bit of difference on here where I think the distance is slightly off from the edge for this icon. So I think that's because we had a gap on the two sides, and this is actually going to look slightly better. So let's give it a try. This actually looks slightly better when the screen is narrower. And if you go back to this and we try the same thing, it's a different setup. This one has no padding on the outside, so let's do that. We got a padding of 10 on the outside, and then we get rid of the padding on the inside, and that should give us the exact same layout. So that is how we fix that little UI bug. Now we have fixed the UI bug. Let's try to create the detail page. So this is a common paradigm for creating apps. You end up with a list page, and then you click on it, you end up on the details page. So let's first analyze what's going on in this details page. We got a top bar, which is exactly the same as the home page. And then we have what seems to be a left to right layout, but that's not actually the case. So let's try to just figure out exactly how this thing is laid out. When the screen is wide enough, we do see this left to right thing. But if we try to make the screen narrower, for example, if we did, like an iPhone, now you can see everything just goes from like top to bottom. So when it's going from top to bottom, we have the title, the image or the video, and then we have this stuff that's used to appear on the right. And then we have the details about the course. So let's go back to our wider screen again. Let's make it 75%. Okay, so the layout would be top bar. When it's narrow, it'll be top bar, this portion over here, but excluding the author part, and then the right portion, and then the details. Okay, so how is this laid out? Well, the way we do that is basically we'll break the layout into the top box, which consists of, so actually we can inspect it. Yeah, we have the top box, which consists of two views, one for the title and the image of course, and then to the right you have the price and purchase now, the things that you want, like the CTA of the course, and to the bottom of it you got another one, and essentially the bottom one has basically the bottom one at the moment has like a huge gap to the right, so that's actually controlled by the padding of its parent, and once we make it smaller we should see that we still have the top one, which is now top to bottom instead of left to right, and we got the bottom one which no longer have any padding. Right, there's no padding over here. Okay, so that's how it's done. So let's try to mimic this thing. So first, let's just create we'll create a new page. We call it course detail. Before we deal with the data, we can just try to get the layout out. Right, we got the top bar, and it's going to take 100% of our thing. And because we have a bug at the moment, I can't copy and paste stuff into this. We'll leave it as is and just leave it empty. But in terms of layout, it's still going to be fixed to the top of the screen. And then for the screen, we're going to add a bit of padding so that the whatever we add is going to have a space. It's going to be spaced out from the top of the screen. So let's add that one. So this will be the whole container over here. So and this thing is going to be top to bottom. Remember, we have a top portion and the bottom portion. So we'll just call it the course view. Course view. And the course view is going to be 100%. Sorry, we first changed the percentage, 100%, but it has a maximum width because, when you make the screen wider, it actually doesn't always become much wider. So let's make it 1248. And that's going to be, and then this is all correct. And then in terms of height, we'll just make it fit whatever needs to go in there, goes in there. And in terms of the background color, it's going to be empty because we don't really want anything to show up as a background. And then within it, we're going to have a top portion and a bottom portion. So we're going to have a top portion. We call it let's just call it top view. And then we'll add another one. And this is going to be the bottom view. Okay, so both the top view and the bottom view is contained. Let's make the bottom view slightly larger. Yeah, so that now contains everything. Okay. We do want to leave a little bit of padding here. So let's see. You can see that. Let's do this instead. Get rid of that. Once we make the screen narrower, we do want some padding over here. So that is what we're going to add. So here we're going to have a padding of 24. And this is going to be as wide as the entire screen. So we'll make that 100%. Same here, 100%. Oops, we should change that to 100 first. Okay, good. And within this, we also want a gap between those two views. And that's this gap over here. This gap over here. So let's give it a gap of 40. This is going to be 40. Right, so this course view has 40 gap. Now we have a gap over here. And this one in the desktop view is going to be laid from left to right. It's going to be laid out here. And then we'll have the course container and then a side panel, which is called that. Let's put a course. Remember, rename all the views. Otherwise, you just end up with a bunch of meaningless names which you cannot distinguish. Let's call this the course side panel. Okay, so that's good. And this course side panel is going to be fixed in size. So let's do that first. We'll make this 300. And in terms of height, we'll just make it 100% of its parent. Okay. And then this guy over here is going to take up whatever space is left. So let's change that to 1 fraction. And that looks good. And our course container's height, again, is going to take the entirety of the entire container. Now, the problem here is we end up with this squished together thing here. So let's get rid of that. We do want a bit of gap between those two things. We want a gap between, and we also want this little bar here. So how do we do that? Well, we just add the gap to its parent. And so we make that 40. So that, oops, yeah. So now you have this gap over here. That's 40. And then we want a bar. Let's add a bar, a border, but we only want it to the right. And that's your bar. Obviously, you want to set the bar's color. So we'll change the color to, I think it's not fully white. It's a gray shade. Yeah, that's about right. So that's a gray shade. And also, you notice there is a gap between the edge of this container and whatever content here. So we do have a gap over here, and that's going to be exactly the same as here. It's going to be symmetrical. So again, it's a 40 in padding in this case. So add a padding of 40 to the right. Okay, can't see any difference here yet, but assure you it's gonna be good. And the top bar, it's a bit small, so let's make it big. Okay, cool. Now it's taking shape a little bit. And within this bar, we'll deal with the background color later. Within this portion here, the course container, we actually have 2 things. So we got this thing on top, and then we got this thing to the bottom. So let's add them. So the basically 2 views. The one to the top, we just call it maybe let's just call it header container. Okay, header container. This is going to be as wide as the entire thing, so 100%. And you notice the gap over here, right? And the bottom one, again, is going to be the bottom one is just going to be the entirety of whatever is left. But because this is actually a conditional view, so if we go back and we log in, and if we go to a purchased view, it actually shows the video. And if you go to the non-purchased view, it shows the image. So that tells us this is a conditional view. So let's, instead of putting a normal view here, we'll put a conditional view. We'll put a conditional view here. And for now, let's just call it, purchased. Purchased, and we'll add another one, which is like not purchased. Or not logged in. Maybe we just cut not purchased. It's easier. Okay, so we have 2 things, purchased or not purchased. If it's purchased, we'll give it 100%. They are always going to be 100%, by the way. And the height will take over whatever's remaining of this entire box. And in fact, this one is going to be exactly the same. 100%, and it would take whatever's remaining of this entire view. Okay. Now, let's go to the not purchased view. It's going to contain an image. That's the image of this entire thing, of the cover image. So in that case, we'll do 100% and 100% of the whole thing. And we have a missed this gap over here. Eh? So the gap is going to be then between this header view and then the conditional one. Header container and the conditional one. So so the gap is actually also going to be 40. Go to the course container, put the gap of 40. So now they're separated. And then we now need to add two text components in there. You can just press a T in here and another one here. And because they're laid out left to right, so that's how we're going to do it. And you notice this guy is always to the right, and they have a gap of some sort in here. So let's make it narrower. Yeah, they have a gap. They have a gap in between. So let's first fix the gap. It's gonna be 24, and the layout we're gonna push them to both sides. And this one is just going to be the name of the thing. So let's leave it at that. And this one is going to be the count of number of learners. Obviously, they're going to have different font sizes. So let's fix that. The course name, let's make it plus Jakarta Sans. First, rename this to course name plus Jakarta Sans 28 and bold. And this is the line height. Okay, so that's that. And then color wise, it's our usual color, the fancy black. Okay. And then to the right, we got this guy, which is going to be the count, but for now, and also this is going to be multi-line, by the way. This is going to take 100% of the, one fraction. And the height, let's see, this guy's height should be fit. This pattern should be fit. And this one's, should be fit. That should be fit. And this guy should always start from the left, multi-line, and the height is fit. Okay, so if this grows 2 lines, it's gonna push things down. In terms of this one here, it's gonna be line to the right. It's also plus Jakarta Sans, but obviously gonna be smaller. And 0.7. And it's actually going to be light. So this is going to be much lighter. And then we have a color here, which is this bluish stuff. Here we go. And that will be it. That is the blue thing we have. Now we get rid of all the background colors. So let's get rid of the background colors. We don't really want that. Course container, we don't want that either. Color, get rid of that. Top view, none of it. All right, so that's all removed. And this now looks like it. And to the right, let's lay out the whole thing as well. we actually have two conditions. We either have this purchase now thing, or we have the you already have this one here. Okay, so that's also going to be conditional containers. So let's do that. We got a purchased state and a new state. So let's do first get rid of the background color, and we'll add a conditional view. Obviously, the conditional view is just going to always take over the entire content. Let's add the conditions. Let's add one, call it new, and the next one we call it purchased. Okay. Well, we won't touch the conditions yet because this is all going to be just layout work. 100%, and the height we'll give it let's give it whatever is available. And in terms of new, let's do the same thing. 100%. And the entirety of the stuff. Okay. So when it's new or when it's purchased, we always lay it from top to bottom. So we lay it out from top to bottom. So let's start with the purchase thing first. We got some content and a title-ish thing, some bullet points, and a call to action, and you got an input box, and you have a send button. All right, so let's do that. First, get rid of the background color, and then we'll figure out whether there's do we need a gap? We probably have some kind of margin going on here. Yes, we do have a margin here. The way we can look at it is by selecting it, and then yes, we have a margin here. This brownish thing is a margin. If we go down, they all have different margins, and that's okay. So we laid this one out with margins, and at the bottom we laid it out with paddings. Okay, there's an invisible line here. So let's do that. We got a text here for this thing here, and then 3 texts for the bullet points. So we do 3 texts for the bullet point, and then we got another call to action. So that's text. And then lastly, well, not lastly, we got the input. So we get the text input. Oh, we need the text input inside the conditional case. And we have the button. But because we want to do some fancy stuff inside the button, for example, this one here, we need to make it a view. You can basically do everything with a button does in a view. Button just wraps a bit of additional logic. So that we will call it the send button. And then we actually have some answer that needs to be shown once you click the button. That's for the AI portion. And that is, for example, we can show it here. Can I what can I do with Moment? And as you click, you can see the content will come out here. The answer content will come out here. So that means we do have another text thing down here. So let's do that. Okay, we have a text down here. Okay, so let's lay out the entire thing. This one says you already have this one. Okay, so that goes in here. And also everything should be aligned to the top left. And we'll make this plus Jakarta Sans, make it slightly bigger, make it bold, increase the line height. Okay, so that is good. The color we also need to adjust to our fancy black. And we do need a margin to the bottoms to space out the entire thing. The reason we use margin here instead of gap is because the spaces in between them are not uniform. So we put a margin. Add the margin only to the bottom. And I would give it a 10. Okay, so that pushes the thing down. This one over here, what does it say? Personal education license. I think that's just fixed. Actually, we don't need 3. We can just have 3. One thing with 3 rows. It's probably easier. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. And we do have a data binding that's required. So that has to wait until we load up the data. Change this to multi-line, change the alignment to left aligned, and then let's do the normal fixins for all the font. It would be very nice if we could have like font as a style and just apply the style. We don't have that yet, but that is in the plans. We change the color to our grayish thing, and then we'll add the margin. We can actually add just margin here, so that would do basically the same thing. Oh, in terms of width, we'll give it 100%. Okay. We can just add a margin here. So in this case, we'll have a top margin of 60 and a bottom margin of 16. So that spaces the things out. And this guy just says, you know, want to know more, try ask an AI. And in terms of the widths, we'll make it 100%. And also this thing should be aligned to the left. Let's change the fonts. This one should have the same color as the fancy black. And that should be it. And then we have this guy over here, which we should make it also 100%. In terms of height, let's make it slightly bigger. That's our input box. And here, let's call it ask anything. Okay, and this thing should not be multi-line because we don't expect the user to type that many stuff. And We do need a margin for this guy, so it will space out the thing on the to the bottom. So let's add a margin of 16 to the bottom. And now that looks okay. And for the input colors, and also for the text, let's make sure it all works. Input colors will be the fancy black, and the placeholder color is going to be our gray. Okay, so that is cool. And then we'll rename this to Ask AI Input so we can find it later. And this one is gonna be Ask AI Label. We'll just rename all of them. Purchased course. That's just gonna purchase description. That's probably good enough. And this one we'll also name it like purchased label. Okay. Now let's get the send button to look like this. All right, so how does that work? First, we need to make it 100% so that it takes the entirety of this thing, and then we'll inside it we have this little thing and a send. So that's actually an image, and we'll make it 28 by 28 square, and then a text. And it's going to be laid out from left to right, and it'll be centered and needs a gap. Otherwise, it's going to look very disgusting. That's a 10 gap. Cool. And this one should just say, we call it the send text. And this one just says send. Okay. And this one is gonna be slightly taller than here. So let's make it 54, make it fatter. Now let's get to change its border radius so it's circular. Well, it's not circular. I meant to make sure it's rounded. Make it border radius of 10. And then the color is going to be the normal blue that we use. So that's good. And the send is we need to adjust its text, like all the font stuff. So same here, make it bigger, make it bold, increase the line height. The color is going to be white. No, it's going to be pure white. Yeah, pure white. Okay. We are going to upload the PNG here. We're using a PNG, but really you should be using like SVG because it's going to be smaller. But you see this is now taking shape. It looks approximately like this, I think. And yeah. Cool. Now we just need this guy to take up the rest of this space. And maybe instead of foreign fraction, we'll just make it fit. Okay, this guy, hello world, really is the AI answer. And the content, for now, we just leave it as hello world, but it's going to be multi-line, and it's going to take the entirety of the entire width, laid out to the left, plus your cursor sans. let's make it slightly more spaced out. And we'll change the color to the normal black that we use. And we also need some spacing. I guess I can just do a margin here to the top of 32. So that spaces it out. Okay, cool. And this guy should be multi-line, and the height is fit, so that's going to increase its height. Okay, that's very good. And now we have something that's looking very much like this. We'll do the we will do the purchase view, purchase view, like the new one, on the next video. But let's first fix this detail thing here. Okay, so the problem obviously is that you do need space all the way here to fit the growth of the AI answer. So we can't be taking up everything here, but since we already are doing this top bottom thing, we can just add a padding all the way, add a padding inside this thing so nothing can grow over here. So the way we do that is just by adding a 380 padding to here. Well, why that? Because this guy is 300 in, sorry, this guy is 300 in width, and then we got this, there's a 40 gap in here, and then another 40 padding in here, so that's going to be 380 in padding to the right. Okay, so we got a padding here. Doesn't seem to do anything, but now if you added anything inside, you will see the difference. So we'll get a author view. We get the author view, and then we'll get a details section. So let's do that. We call it the author view, and the author view is going to be 100% of, 100% of the container. And then the height is going to be a fit and a details view. Details view. And that is also going to be 100% and fit. And this guy's height is going to be, fit as well. Okay. So within the author view, it's going to be laid out top to bottom, but aligned to the top right. And it will have a gap of just 10. And we put in 2 texts in here. Whoops. Yep. Let's do it here. We're just going to copy and paste. Call this the author name. And the next one is going to be author bio. And these two should be separated as well. So let's give it a gap of 40. That will push things down. Oops. Wrong. I meant in here. This guy should have a gap of 40. Okay, so now push it down the things. And within, this is author bio. And inside the details view, again, we're going to have a gap for between detail and this actual content. So we'll get a gap of just 20, and then we'll put in 2 texts in here. And we'll just copy and paste. Lay it out to the top left. And the first one, it's all, sorry, it's not author name, it's details. And the next one is going to be, well, this one's details label. And the next one is details, just details. Okay. Now let's adjust these texts. We'll leave this as me sans, but make it slightly bigger. Actually, no, let's do plus Jakarta sans because that's we don't want too many different fonts. It makes things look just a bit weird. And we'll adjust the color to our usual black. And it should be regular. Yeah, regular. Make the line height slightly larger. Sky should be plus Jakarta sans. And should be slightly. Yeah, that looks good. And the color this time is going to be the fancy. No, I need another one. It's another fancier gray. So let's just create that one here. We'll call it faint gray for text. And it's going to be that. Okay. It's just a faint gray. And the reason we wanted all these colors as theme colors is because it makes things easier to change. Otherwise, life is just a bit annoying. Okay. We don't have any text decorations. Now down here, this is the detail. So that's just going to say detail. Details. And this one, let's change it already. Author. And then we have a data binding for name. We'll do the data binding once we have loaded the data. Plus Jakarta sans. This one is going to be slightly bigger. It's going to be bold. And let's increase the line height to 1.8 times text height. Cool. And this guy over here is going to be just the details. We'll bind the details later. But we do need to change. You can see this gets quite tedious pretty soon if you don't have styling, which is what we're going to build. We change the color. Okay, now we get rid of the background color here. Get rid of the background colors in here and in here. These background colors are by default there, so people can tell what is going on. Okay, this now looks somewhat like this, except that we don't have data binding yet. We'll do the data binding in the next video. Actually, we will not do data binding. We'll do the conditionals in the next video, and then we'll do data binding.